People that listen to our podcast, you know what they want to hear? They want to hear four fucking grizzly bears getting down on some bullshit. That's what they want to hear.
Welcome to the Drivers Project podcast, featuring hosts Dominic Scelzi, JJ Hickle, Sam Hafertepe Jr., and myself, Daryl Turford. Well, fellas, we're back with the Drivers Project presented by Kaiser Wheels, and there wasn't a lot of racing this week outside of USAC, so we didn't have too much racing to talk about, and it would have been a pretty short episode, so we decided to bring on a guy who has pretty much been ripping up USAC and is running 410 sprints regularly this year, and that is Daison Pursley, who kind of sort of almost won the Chili Bowl. And Daison, how you doing?
Yeah, good. How are you guys? Thanks for having me on. Appreciate it.
What have you been up to? How was your weekend?
It was good. Weekend was good. Been up to trying to drive in circles. Started off the year in Florida with the wing car and everything, and then decided to go run some USAC stuff with Chad, and that went pretty good.
You guys have not finished worse than third, have you? And you just won $10,000, did you not?
Yeah, me and Chad were actually looking at the stats and everything, and since Chili Bowl, it'd be like 9 races ago, we've not finished off the podium in any of his cars. So it's been fun. Of course, Chad and I have built a good relationship over the last year. So when I get to race with him, it just feels good for sure.
Okay, Dom, we didn't have you on last week. What have you been up to?
Man, I've just been working like crazy. We've been really busy. For whatever reason, I don't know, things are starting to pick up pretty good, so I'm liking that. But I think before we get started, we need to address the elephant in the room.
I'm about to rip you guys up. Go ahead, Dom. Try it. Try it.
I think everyone needs to pray for Daryl. It's been a tough few days for him after the Four Nations face-off. Canada got their asses smoked 3-1 in their own country. So I just want to pray for you, and I want all of our followers and listeners to also pray for you, Daryl. I'm having some technical difficulties here, so I probably won't be able to hear your reply, but you and USA, USA, USA.
Well, Dom, let me do some explaining for you.
Man,
that was the round robin game. The final is Thursday. You have not won yet. Canada will be playing you on Thursday in the final.
So right here it says the score was 3-1.
Yep.
So
in the round robin game,
that's a win.
In the game I think that was inconsequential.
Right here, bud.
So yeah, on Thursday.
Actually, USA is losing to Sweden right now.
Oh, that's an L.
I know. I wasn't just saying.
Well, game's still going. And
yeah, 9:17 left.
Yeah. But yes,
to North Dakota.
Yeah,
Super North Dakota.
The game that matters will be on Thursday, gentlemen. So tune in then. Well, and I don't know if you guys know this, but the Dream Team lost 2.
Well,
hey, so what if USA loses tonight? What's that mean, Daryl?
Nothing. The final is already set. Canada and the US in the final.
Well, that's why US isn't really trying that hard right now.
Playing their B team.
Being sincere, yes. They're playing their backup goalie. They do not want their best players hurt. Yes, they are not icing their best team.
Well, and they got done. I mean, how many fights did we beat y'all in the other night?
That was 2-1 Canada. That was 2-1 Canada on the fights.
I don't know, Daryl.
I don't know if you guys are ready to hear this because we're going to get into some advanced. 2 of the guys fighting were half Canadian. Their moms were from Canada.
Because their fathers are American. Because them girls, they can't handle that USA sausage. No Canadian bacon in them houses.
USA.
USA.
Anyway, we'll talk to you after Thursday.
Yeah, let's talk racing and hockey.
Anyways, damn, Daison, it's great to have you on. Boy, I was yelling for you at Chili Bowl. I honestly thought when Kyle got up on the wall in the front straightaway that it was curtains. I thought you had it there, but you've had a hell of a career in a short amount of time. You've done a lot of stuff. You've experienced a lot. With other drivers being injured similar to your injuries, can you kind of talk about your recovery and what that process was, and mentally how much that took out of you to get back to being one of the top guys in the entire game of racing?
Yeah, it's huge. Like I tell everyone, like I mean, it's something that you wish upon nobody. And when someone, has to go through any sort of injury, it's tough because I think what we do is like a traveling circus, and the circus kind of never stops, even though if you don't show up there. So, that's probably one of the hardest things is realizing that the show still goes on no matter if you're there or not. And all injuries are, of course, some sideline you longer than others. So just realizing that. But unfortunately, what we do, the injuries that for some reason keep on occurring, once every 2 years, it feels like that they're kind of life changing, I guess you could say. So just when people do unfortunately go through those circumstances in course, it's just special for people that have experienced that. I feel like to reach out and try to, if they're willing to accept not even help or anything, because I don't feel like I drink any special Kool-Aid or did anything different. It's um just the circumstances that God has put in your life, and just so many different other things that played into it. And yeah, just something that sucks for a lot of people for sure. And then there's a lot of good things that come with it as well.
So we're gonna go into that crash in detail later. You were from Oklahoma, which means you were bred in one of the two places I think are like the ultimate breeding grounds for race car drivers, which is the California outlaw kart scene and then Port City. I think those places have brought the world so many sprint car drivers, it's not even funny. Could you take us through your early years and just kind of take people through leading up to going to Kunz?
Yeah, so started racing, or I tried to race when I was like 6 years old, junior sprints. Like still playing sports and everything, and then my dad raced like modifieds and stuff back in the day, and then my uncle Alex Camp actually raced um, micros and stuff, and like two barrels and sometimes around creek and everything. So he kind of introduced me to racing because I was never got to watch my dad race. So yeah, I went to the races growing up and everything, and then decided I want to try it when I was like 6 years old, and then actually flipped on a practice day, and then that was kind of oh, I'll go play football or basketball or something like that, and didn't want to race anymore. And then dad and I, of course, like still went and watched the races and did all of that, and I showed a lot of interest in just watching. And then when I was actually 10 years old, we were walking around the expo center at the Tulsa Shootout, and we bought Andrew Dill's micro. Like I was walking around, I was like, Dad, I think I want to try this racing stuff out again. And then sure enough, he bought a car that night, and we loaded it up in the back of the pickup truck, and then started racing Port City weekly that year when I was 10 years old, and restrictor and everything. Just kind of started cutting my teeth there and everything, and getting, like going to practice and going to all the things that they allowed us to go to. And then yeah, just kind of started traveling a lot more after that. The following year, started traveling with Now 600, and then going up the turnpike to I-44, and then Port City closed down. I forget what year it closed down when they were switching owners and stuff. So then we didn't get to race there, and got to race with Now 600 and travel a little bit down to Texas and race some of those bigger races. And then yeah, when I was racing Port City, like Frank Flood was the guy. He was somebody that, you wanted to beat, you wanted to learn from and everything. And like I ran second to Frank one year like 9 times, and like never could win, but just always ran second to Frank. So he's probably taught me more than he knows that he's taught me, just from having to follow him, unfortunately. But yeah, he was somebody that you looked up to, of course. Him, Chris Andrews, Kevin Bear, like Scott Sawyer. Those people were people that were kind of running Port City at that time, and just people that I definitely looked up to for sure.
And I think we were gypped at the shootout, because if he wouldn't have broke on that one that he's starting on the pole, him and Larson, I think, would have had an incredible battle. Because, dude, people don't realize this that don't watch micros. Frank Flood is the Kyle Larson of micro sprints.
Yeah,
Does
Frank
he still run visor
Frank's
up?
crazy good.
He still runs visor up?
Sometimes he gets in trouble a lot now, but like you'll like follow him and stuff around hot laps and everything, and like yeah, it'll be up.
So you eventually made the decision when you were 14 years old to go to Keith Kunz. Now, for the last, I don't know, 20 years, there's been a stigma on kids essentially buying rides. But on our podcast, we've really made the point that that's kind of the smart way to do it. what went into your decision to go with Kunz?
Yeah, that was something that like I wasn't very like I guess in tune or maybe like smart enough to understand like what racing could really do for you, right? Like to me it was just like at that point it was just something that mom, dad and I went and did and it was fun and I enjoyed it and didn't realize, what it could probably bring to your life and then yeah, just started like racing micros and everything and then started going to midget races and like ASCS races and stuff around home and like started to just travel like a little bit more and understand it all. And then when I was would have been 13, I had a pretty dang good micro year, like where we traveled to like SIR and ran High Banks Hustle and like did all the traveling races and felt like we'd done pretty good. And then yeah, I started like talking to Keith and everything. And then, yeah, like I'll just be honest, my parents set me down and they said, we have, X amount of money and we are going to try to do everything we can to pursue, like I wanted to race at that point. Like I learned about everything, knew that it could be a career, knew that I could make a lifestyle out of it. And they spent the money to go race Power Eye that year with Keith. And they just set me down and told me like this is literally all we have for you to go do this. It's up to you. Like this is the year that you either are going to make it or realize that you're not good and we'll go drive a dump truck or or whatever for the family company. But yeah, I was very fortunate enough to just get the right opportunities and stuff because of my parents. I originally or at first and then built a massive relationship with Keith and Pete and all of them and yeah, the rest is kind of history after that.
I'm just looking through your stats and stuff, and what's funny is like you spent time with Keith, but you've bounced around as well, and you've really had success. I mean, you've just won the USAC championship for Chad, and I guess question for me is I haven't run a midget in 10 years. The last time I ran a midget was at Chili Bowl, and I was 100 pounds lighter. And I remember one year I got to race, and Tim Clausen set the car up, and it was incredible what that car felt like compared to the other years that I had run, and it was somebody else setting the car up. What are the differences feel wise compared to a Keith car and a Chad Boat car?
Yeah, I think it's like I think midgets for some reason like when you're slow, you don't even know why. Like I mean, I think just like the people that we race against now, like they're just so young and like 110% of the time they're racing as hard as they can for 30 laps. And like your car doesn't have to feel good. Like you're just literally out there just doing whatever you can do to like not let these people, pass you or do whatever because you know that they're driving hard. So like I've jumped around like AME year was probably like that was been 2022, like right after my accident. And like that was probably like a struggled year for me because like I felt like the car was good, but like we would go out there and I would rip like a very good lap and everything. And I'm like, oh, that felt good, comfortable. And then it would go out there and be like 12th quick. And then in USAC, like if you're not in the top six, like you're playing catch up from there. So, yeah, like I think it's very hard to like fill a midget setup wise. And I think like when you're comfortable and you feel good, you're usually slow. So like Keith, like his cars were always just like, if you drove them hard, they felt better. And then if you like limped around and stuff, like then that's like not when they felt really that great. And then Chad's cars, like I think I just caught Chad like kind of at the right year as well too, of like where he really enjoyed or like found a love for like his package and stuff of what he like wanted to do to the race car. So like and then it just fit like everything that I wanted to fill as well too. So when Chad and I got hooked up together at Chili Bowl last year, it was like whatever I wanted to do, like I thought needed to be done, like he already was thinking that too, watching the car. So like just the combination that we had together, and then Chad's cars are just like there was a time at Lawrenceburg I went out there and I'm just like I feel terrible, like uncomfortable, like just this thing's about to flip over, and I was like 2/10 quicker than the field in hot laps. So like midgets, I feel like are just like non-wing cars in general. I guess just like how stupid do you really want to be, and that's about kind of like all it is. It feels like.
Now, you've gotten to work with probably, right now, I'd say they're two of the top midget teams. From working with Keith, he's very, very intense. But you were also very young. Was he still intense with you even though you were 14, or was he more open to realizing, like, hey, you're a kid? And then how he handled you compare to how Chad handled you? Because I don't know Chad from Adam, but he seems very laid back. If I'm saying that correct.
Yeah, Keith definitely was normal Keith for sure. No matter if I was 14 or 15 or whatever, but Keith and I got really close in 2021, like super close. Like he could tell me how it is, and to be honest, I feel like that's the reason I can take good coaching to this day now. And then my parents taught me that as well too. Like mom played professional basketball, like understand what it takes to be at a high level and everything. So like they just always taught me at a young age, like just be very coachable and if you want to be good at something, you're gonna have to, go through the struggles and stuff as well too. So like that was something that Keith was, very good at, and I felt like that he helped me a lot learn at a younger age was just to kind of take the responsibilities, with your chin up and just keep going, and not getting too hard on yourself. So like Keith was just as intense as he was with Kyle and me when I was 14 or whatever. So it helped me a ton. And then when I started racing for Chad, it was pretty dang similar. Like he grew up with his dad, Billy, and then like, they were successful. Billy, of course, was very successful, and then Chad was very successful in his career too. So like, I mean, they just want to win. And then that's like the best part is like, as a driver, I feel like you sometimes need to just honestly just shut up, drive the car, and Chad and, even Billy and Keith will like tell you that night in and night out. I mean, I remember there was a night in hot laps with Keith where I was like, it was like bone slick, like almost taking rubber, like at Green Valley, Missouri in a power I race. And he was like mad at me because like I didn't drive it as hard as he wanted me to. And it was just like, from that point on, it was just like an eye opener that like every time I hit the track, like I'm going to try to flip this thing, it feels like. So, so I'll make him happy. But it was good. No, nonetheless, them being intense, I feel like helps me as a driver as well, just to kind of keep myself in check.
So the other thing that you seem to really do at Kunz was you really seem to kickstart Keith into micros and putting on some big shows and stuff like that, and obviously racing them with him. What went into that?
Yeah, that was something like Keith just kind of came to like me about really and just kind of started asking me questions about like, oh, what is, micros, like how many car counts do they get? Like what's, the local level look like all of this certain, different aspects of it. And like it was something that like I think maybe at that time they had like 2 to 3 10 grand to win races. And it was only growing from there. Like SIR I think had two. Maybe at that time, Sweet Springs had like a 20,000 to win, I think it was. So like it was growing, but it wasn't like massive. Maybe Port City had like the Outlaw Nationals as well too, but it wasn't crazy big at that point. And then, it was something that he kind of course, was doing like the Outlaw Cart give back thing at Millbridge, and then Millbridge kind of got away from Outlaw Carts and introduced micros in that area and everything. So like I guess it was something that like he just wanted to try, and then he thought that it would be a good stepping stone, for his rental program, like into midgets. Like, you take this young kid at, instead of 14 years old, you're taking this young kid at 10, 11 years old, and you're racing restricted micros with them. And then, the next thing you know, they're jumping in your midget at 14, and like you just get an earlier start on developing them. And he thought there was like a good market and stuff for that, and got a couple of like good people to go out there and race. And then like I was just kind of the one to like tell him about like Sawyer chassis and then like the engine builders and stuff that like me and my dad used on our personal stuff back in the day. So just made like a full circle. And then of course like in 2021 I didn't have like a sprint car like ride or anything like that. So when I was filling my weekends, it was good that Keith wanted to go micro racing, and I got to still build that connection with him to really get our cars dialed in as well that year.
Yeah, I remember I actually walked through the shop that year, and the crew guys were basically saying Keith doesn't touch the midgets; he loves the mini sprints and the micros now.
Yeah, like
But
obsessed with them that
yeah,
whole year in 2021. Like, I mean, obsessed with them, and it was cool because like, don't get me wrong, he still got excited to go to midget racing and win some midget races, but like he's kind of done dang near about everything you could do in a midget and win. So like going to those micro races and seeing, Keith Kunz that excited to win this micro race that had 80 cars was pretty cool.
so you've
I didn't realize that Brady built your guys' engines.
Yeah, Brady at Metric Cycles was like huge. Like I love Brady for sure. Like I think he's a special person. A lot of people overlook his work for sure.
I agree. He built my engines there. Actually, Chris Bell was a buddy of mine when we were all racing micros, and he won that big race at SIR, and we
Yeah.
were in like turmoil engine wise. And I'm like, dude, who are you using? He goes, oh, call Brady up. Well, we called Brady up, and I think we won like 7 out of 8 races in a row when we first got his engine. That was right when Pace Chassis was getting like really, really strong. And we went back to the shootout, and I probably should have gotten them freshened up, but I blew 2 engines, both in the feature, at my first shootout, and they were Brady's engines. And I remember he felt so bad, but they had like 20 some nights on them both, and we were kind of abusing them. But Brady builds great stuff.
Yeah, Brady's cool. He's a little gem in Tulsa for sure.
So you've alluded to the 2021 season, and this was obviously a pretty career-altering season. You said to me off camera that was the year you felt like you were getting things going. Could you take us through 2021 leading up to the crash?
Yeah, I think that was like definitely a breakout year towards like the middle part of the season. Like was running Power Eye and USAC and then dabbling with the micros and stuff too. So like just racing probably the hardest year that I've ran by far. And then just started just slowly building confidence into myself and everything. And I think that helped like with the micros as well too. Like go to micro race, win, have good success, build your confidence up, jump into the midget the next weekend and then like still feel really good, of course, and then got really comfortable. And at that time, it was Keith and Brady Forbrook just working on my car, and we would go race micros, and then Keith and Brady would take care of my midget, and they'd be the only two working on it. So like, just the communication and stuff that me and Brady and Keith had at that time in 2021 was huge, and like it was something that I had a lot of confidence in them, they had a lot of confidence in me, and then started winning a lot of power races, and then I think we won 2 USAC races. That was my first USAC win as well at Red Dirt at Meeker, and then went out to PA and won another USAC race, and then I think we had like 7 Power I wins that year as well too. And yeah, like one of my better seasons where I felt like I was starting to get rolling, and then got to run a non-wing sprint car at Hopstot and those places for KO Motorsports. And it was like first time like getting opportunities, getting to go race, getting to break out and cast a little net on what I wanted to do and try to do. And then yeah, unfortunately went to out west that year, and then ended up, I guess, closing down Arizona Speedway.
So you closed down Arizona Speedway. Could you take us through how that happened? Do you have a lot of memory of it? Do you remember a lot of the details of it?
I remember that day. Like, I mean, it's been 3 years now, so like, I remember that day. Remember everything. Remember like the heat race and everything like that. And then, um, yeah, I was just battling with Buddy for like again, like we both I think qualified top 6, so like we had to transfer out of the heat race, and that was when USAC only took like top 4, so like 5th and 6th. We started 5th and 6th, and then at a big track like that for a midget, like you had to go at any given time. So was just trying to race Buddy for the transfer spot, and then yeah, just got squeezed into the wall a little bit into 3, probably at the fastest place of the track, and then hit the fence. And like I remember like turning over, looking at the dirt, and then just like as soon as I hit the dirt with the top of the cage, like lights out. Then I don't remember anything from like a week and a half maybe in the hospital. And then just like woke up, and then I don't remember what my first part was or what I said or anything like that. But yeah, I don't remember like a week and a half in the hospital. And then my parents never left my side. They were there the entire time. Mom, like, I mean, I don't think she slept at all. And then yeah, I was in Arizona at maybe like Banner Health Hospital, I think, in Mesa, Arizona was what it was. It was like a trauma hospital. Um, and then ended up doing surgery on my neck. I broke C3s, like shattered, completely gone. And they fused, no, sorry, C4 shattered and completely gone. And they fused C3 through C5 together. Got like this little baby scar compared to like some other people that broke their neck. But yeah, did that and everything, and was completely paralyzed, like from the neck down, like after surgery, like couldn't move anything, like nothing at all. Had a ventilator in, had the whole ordeal, and then I guess I like tried to kick my right leg or something when I had the ventilator in because I couldn't talk. And then like mom, dad, everyone of course like went ecstatic because they, been getting told for the last, couple hours that, he's this, he's that, he's paralyzed, probably gonna be like this for the rest of his life, all of that spill. And then so when I kicked my leg, they're like, oh, got the doctors, came in there running and everything, and they couldn't talk, so they of course didn't know what I wanted. And then I was on so much medications, like my eyes probably weren't doing what they were supposed to. So it was hard to communicate with me and stuff. And then I still wasn't breathing on my own at that time. I was like letting the ventilator still do it. So they couldn't take that out so I could talk. So then it was like a couple, hours go by. And then sure enough, like my body started kicking in where I was breathing on my own. So they took the ventilator out. And then at that time, I was able to kind of mumble some things and could move my right leg at that point. So that was like a good promising sign. And then it slowly started like working its way up to my body. So got like my right leg, started moving my foot a little bit, I think. And then like right shoulder, like right abdomen and all those things. And then into my elbow and my hand and all that. And then slowly, I think maybe like 2 week mark, 2.5 week mark, I like started to be able to move my left foot and stuff like that and leg and everything and like pick it up off the bed. And then that's like kind of when the physical therapy people started to come in, and start like, basically literally just massaging everything and like stretching everything because like I didn't move anything for about 2 weeks. So just kind of just like making sure everything would, when, if hopefully it did all come back together and I could do something, that it would be loosened up and I wouldn't be like a board. So they started doing that and everything and hurt. I mean, hurt. That stuff, like, it was probably the worst pain that I can remember that, like, no drug or medicine could take care of. But, started doing that and then everything. And then about the 3 week mark, it was time to, like, get transferred somewhere because, like, what they could do was pretty much, nothing at that point. It was just, we patched you up as good as we could, like send you on your way, and you can either go home or you can go to a rehabilitation center. So we got all lined up, and everything, and started to figure out what the best option was, and had so many good doctors, Dr. Trammell, Bill Heisel with Toyota and NASCAR, like so many people reach out and everything, and like again, that's why the racing community is like the absolute best, and the people that I had surrounding me and everything is, the reason why I'm doing so good today, and did all of that, and then started like walking trying to walk, set up maybe, at like the 2 and 3/4 weeks probably. And like started walking like 10 steps. And then there'd be like four people around me and everything. Cause like at that time my hand didn't work. So like my hand and left arm didn't work. So if I fell, they wanted to catch me and all that. So I had like multiple people around me and everything. And then got shipped or on a flight to on a med plane to Atlanta at Shepherd Center, and I was there for maybe got there. Trying to remember.
Is that where Chase is?
That's where Chase went.
That's
Correct.
where, yeah, he was there.
Mm-hmm. Chase like got to see every doctor, everything therapist that I seen, so that was like very very cool. Um, but yeah, went to Shepherd Center in Atlanta. They got me in pretty good tip top shape, about as good as I could. Like they built like a little like checklist of like your goals and stuff. Got to like mark off all my goals. Like wanted to ride a bike, wanted to be able to run. Like when I left there, like got to do all of those things. Left like arm and stuff. Came back like maybe 3 weeks um after I like arrived there, and like they don't do anything crazy special. They're just like really good at what they do just because they've seen everything. Like the most terrifying things that like we could think of, like they've seen it and like don't get scared or like anything. So like it's not like they do any cool tricks, nothing there. They just like don't panic. They've just seen a little bit of everything. So did all that and everything and then went home, went to Chili Bowl, I guess, but like in between there. Went to Chili Bowl and then went home, went back to or moved to North Carolina for like 8 weeks. And that's when like Toyota said they're going to get me as race ready as I possibly can in those 8 weeks. So like went to the TPC, Toyota Performance Center, did all that, got to jump on the simulator and make sure that I could, actually stop and use both feet and do all of that sort of thing, and had the strength to like handle that. Did all of that and then went home, and then jumped in a micro at like the 9-month mark. And then went to Coles County, and then like won 4 races that night, and then went to US 24 and won like 3 races, and then jumped in a midget at Davenport, I think. And I remember like getting in the midget, and I was just like, holy crap, this is fast. Like, this is ridiculous. Like, I'm flying around here right now. And yeah, that was cool. Just like the process of all of that, like, slowing down again and stuff is something that took a long time, really. And I think I won at Lake Ozark maybe like a month and a half or 2 months, like after I got back in the midget with Power Eye. And then yeah, ran that whole year with KKM and everything, which was cool to come back and race for them for sure.
So you mentioned Trammell there. He, for those that don't know, he's basically was the trauma guy at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway. And this guy has fixed some disasters. I believe Alex Zanardi, when he lost his legs, it was basically Trammell that, I don't know if he saved his life, but he's certainly the guy. God, I don't want to be wrong about this, but I do believe he was the guy that basically looked after Zanardi.
He put Tony Schumacher back together.
He's put a million guys back together. Did you do a lot with him? Was he pretty good for you, or what's he like? Because I always hear about him.
Yeah, just like a very calm, like, again, like literally you could be terrified, like, oh my goodness, my life is, right before my eyes. And Dr. Trammell's like, oh, we'll come in here, we'll pat you on the back, we'll fix you up, and we'll send you on your way. Like, he's just that type of guy that's just like, he just feels like he's in control of everything. Like, he's, again, seen everything, like, doesn't panic in any situation. And he was kind of like retired. So like he was never like my actual doctor or anything like that. But anytime I of course need something, still talk to him to this day. Just about like stuff that he doesn't even know will happen to me, but then I just run into some problems. Like, people ask me if I'm 100%, and I tell them that I'm 100% that I'll ever be, but it's definitely like 80% with just like random stuff that I have going on. So like those things all change like daily as well too. So like doctors can't really tell me. It's something that I just say, like, every person's different that goes through an injury like that. And a person that like our injuries were very similar was Justin Grant. Justin Grant reached out to me pretty early on, and like his injury and mine were like, they were both neck injuries. But it's crazy kind of like how close our injuries were, with just like the left side being the weaker side and all of those certain things, which was good to have him kind of like reach out and have some good guidance and everything. But yeah, just a lot of good doctors for sure. That helps answer a lot of my unknown questions.
So in the first 2-3 weeks, I'm guessing you don't know anything that's going on.
Oh yeah, nothing at all. I'm so drugged up.
Yeah, but your parents absolutely do. That must have been terrifying for them.
And what age were you at this current time when this
17.
happened? 17. Okay.
That had to be terrifying for your parents.
Yeah, they probably went through all the emotions and stuff. Like, why do we do this? Why do we let our kid drive these stupid little cars and all of that certain things. But when it came down to race, like I just told them, like, I'm racing. Like, I'm sorry, but like I'm racing. If and this is the way I look at it, like God gave me the ability to walk, to do more than I could ever ask for with something that I went through. And if he's going to give me this much, and like I said, it's not 100%, but if he's going to give me this much to at least hold on to his steering wheel, like I am going to try it. And yeah, that's just like why I race, is just because like I feel like he gave me a second chance for some reason. So I'm going to go find out until I can't anymore. And hopefully it was when I retire and I'm done, then hopefully it was a good enough second chance.
I mean, honestly, you were hitting right on it. I was just going to ask, obviously, as a racer, I think that most guys totally can understand coming back and racing, but I just was kind of curious what your doctors said about it. I mean, I'm sure they got to think that that's absolutely insane. And then I was just kind of curious what that conversation was like with your parents, because I'm sure that was kind of a hard conversation in the beginning.
Yeah, I mean the doctors, like, they're doctors, right? They go to school and do all this, but they said I would never walk again, and here I am. So I don't know. Like, I mean, they had their things. Like, they think everything's dangerous, right? And usually the dangerous things are fun. So like, I explained to people that didn't know, like when I was in rehab and everything, that like I raced for the last since I was 14, probably 100 times a year. You've seen me once because I crashed one time. Like, it's pretty good little sport we have going. Like, yeah, like there's some things that, are out of our control and everything, but like I just raced 300 times. I crashed one time and now I'm here and you're telling me that I could never do this again. Like,
Yeah,
I'll try again. I'll try again. I'll try my odds one more time.
I like your
But
math.
I'm not the right person to ask. Like, I don't know. Like, it's dangerous. Like, I understand that like safety has to get better and everything like that, but like I'm still young. So like to me it's just like I'm just having fun.
I I I respect the hell out of your passion for the sport. I love hearing like, the doctors when you're like, I'm doing all this rehab and stuff so I can go back to what put like just the look on those people's faces is hilarious. They're like, man, it's a different kind
Yeah.
of cat, but also
Like
not the
just
type of
like
cat that's gonna go to school for 8 years.
like just like the stuff that like and the people that I met through rehab, like, and there's another thing that like opened up my eyes is like, I look down the hallway and there's, a guy or a kid that literally just broke the same thing that I did, diving into a pool or, a car accident or just like little certain things that like you would never think of, like that you just meet and just like figure out, like, mountain biking or like all these things that you just meet. And it's just like, they all look at this video, like, because I watched it on YouTube a million times. I'm showing everyone in the rehab center of like what we do and everything. But yeah, like they're just like, holy crap, like you shouldn't be alive, blah blah blah. Like you flipped this car and you're like this fine or whatever. And it's just like you can get hurt doing anything, like literally anything. So like, yeah, like once again, it just goes back to like if I got the opportunity to walk again and grab a steering wheel and be able to hold on barely, then I'm gonna go try. So just like, and my parents were 110% behind me as well too. Like they told me I can go race, I can try again. They're not gonna, I'm sure my mom's scared, I'm sure my dad's scared, whatever. But like they told me if I wanted to race, then they're gonna support me 110%. Or if they told me if I wanted to stop, then they would have, support me 110% with that too.
I'll be honest, like the the mental toughness that you have to actually come back from an injury like that, obviously, like most guys would have said, this, I ain't doing that no more, but to have the mental toughness that you had to do that, like, like there ain't a lot of people that have that, man. Like there's very few people that would have the ability or want to even try that again. I commend you 100%. I don't even know. Like, there ain't a fucking guy on this panel that could say, "Oh yeah, I would have done the same thing." Because unless they're in your shoes, they don't know. I would like to say that I probably wouldn't. Like just saying, like, I got a wife and 3 kids, and but you said it good. Like you're a young guy, and you got the world ahead of you, and you got a second chance. I mean, I commend you 100%. And I don't know, that's bad, dude. Like it's really cool to hear, how it all played out for you. One of my questions was, is there, obviously there probably is, but what do you have to do day to day, like, therapy wise or whatever you call it, working out, all that type of stuff? Like, what kind of things do you have to do day to day to kind of keep going in the right direction, I guess?
It's not as like bad as you think. Like I'm pretty lucky slash like good, just because like I can move everything. It's not good, but like I can still like move everything. So um I'll just give you an example. Like this is my right hand, like normal, like can move as fast as you can, right? This is like my left.
Wow.
So like opening it is like the hard part. And it's just my hand is like the hardest part. Like if I lift my hand above my shoulder, like everything just is really, really tight is like how I describe it, like super tight. So like massage, needling, like dry needling that is like all of that stuff like helps tremendously. And like actually like this is my first time back in North Carolina since I've been in Florida for 3 weeks. Like immediately going to see Tammy is her name at TPC. Like she'll needle me up, feel great, everything. And then cold weather comes and I might as well not even get out of bed. Rain comes, might as well not even get out of bed. Like it just messes me up like super, super bad. So like just like opening and stuff is like very, very slow. Like this is the only thing I don't have is like my thumb. Like I can't bend it, like the tip of it.
Daryl can't either.
I can bend it. I just have the straightest thumbs ever.
So like if you want a thumb war with my left hand, like you're gonna win.
Damn. So do you just pull? What hand do you pull your tear offs with?
So that was like a big. That was like a big thing. Like
Right.
it was my left before my injury, and then like when I switched to my right, it was like a whole ordeal. Like took me forever. Like go race a non-wing car at Gas City in Bloomington. Like you might as well just. I better not start 6 like in the heat race and heat 1 especially because like I'm like not good for a full 2 laps because like I'm just terrible. And like still to this day, like I got Volution to 410, and I'm like I feel like I'm just ripping in the wing car right now, like going way too fast, and it's just driving me. And like then you want me to pull a tear off? Like I can't do that yet. Like it just doesn't really make sense.
Well, it makes it tough
That's
when
amazing.
when your weaker hand has got to be the hand you keep on the wheel. That changes everything.
Yeah,
Yeah,
and then you get tight. And then you get tight and you're just screwed up and I'm in the fence.
Yeah.
And just for clarification, like when I started racing 360s when I was like 16, 17, I decided, it'd be really smart to go race the Outlaws at Kilgore at Lone Star Speedway. And obviously we qualified slow as hell, and I started on the back of a heat. And just to tell people, because nobody knows this, or maybe some guys do, but when you go from a midget, or I'm not even going to say non-wing because I don't know, but the amount of mud you get on the start of a 410 wing sprint car race compared to anything else, if you've never been in it, it is a total shock. Like it's like, holy, I don't have enough. I can't rip fast enough, and it's just like a culture shock, really, because you're not ready for it. And I can imagine exactly what you're going through, and that's why I can't imagine not using my left hand very well. But I can imagine the shock that you would get in trying to like play catch up with your tear offs. All right, Daison, this is a good question. You've raced non-wing. You've raced non-wing. You've raced non-wing. You've raced midgets, and now you're running 410 wing sprint cars. And I'm not saying, oh man, you've run all that and you're not running as good in the 410 wing car. You don't have much time in it. So like obviously any guy that's going to do good in 410 wing cars, they need time. But my question is, like, when you've ran a midget or you've ran a non-wing sprint car, and then now you've run, like, okay, you ran some 360 stuff, obviously, and then now you've run 410 wing stuff. I guess my question is, the length of time it took you to get good at each craft, would you say it was harder to adapt to a midget? Was it harder to adapt to, and I know the midget was your first actual car, but like when you're adapting to each of these crafts, what do you see with, obviously you've pretty much perfected the midget deal. I think you're the fastest guy at Chili Bowl, hands down. You're just dealing with God racing a midget in front of you. And I think right now you're the fastest non-wing guy we've seen down in Florida. I mean, Kyle Cummins, they could maybe make an argument with that. But so obviously you've got those two things mastered. We go to the 410 wing sprint car. What are some of the things that you see that are I don't know, maybe hard for you. You said you felt like it's driving you. So like, that's kind of like, because we always get these things like, non-wing guys think wing guys are pussies, and then wing guys think non-wing guys can't drive a race car sometimes. Like there's always going on back and forth. So my question is, and a lot of people would like to know, because obviously you've won a USAC championship, you're trying to transition into a 410 wing sprint car. What are the things that you're struggling with right now that you feel like you need to get better? And I guess, why are they different from the non-wing stuff and the midget stuff?
I think wing car is like the biggest thing that I noticed at Volusia, like in the heat race. Like you guys, they dropped the green, and I'm just like, holy crap! Like it's lap 1, I can barely pull this tear off, and like these guys are just racing 110% like now, and just like the pace to me is just like extremely from first to 24th in the feature. Like the pace is killer. Like there's no break, there's no like. You mess up, you're not getting past. Like you mess up once, you're gonna get past, and then you might get passed by 2 more. Like especially at the big places at like Volusia, and then like I think non-wing cars is just like, and I haven't seen this yet in wing cars because I really haven't been up front. But like if Justin Grant has like a 5th place car in a non-wing car, he will run 5th. If Logan Seavey has a 5th place car, like he will run 5th, just because like they don't want to flip, like it hurts like when you flip and all this and all that. And like I think wing guys, like they still go after it as hard as they want to time and time again. And like non-wing cars, like you can be a little bit more stupider than the guy next to you at like half miles at Terre Haute and like all that, and you can outdrive them or out balls them really, or whatever you want to call it. And then like again, like wing guys just race so much harder. And another thing, like the dirty air, like sometimes I get in places where I'm just like, how did I get here? Like what did I just get pushed around to land right here in the middle of the racetrack? Like I don't know how that just happened. So just like understanding that I can't follow somebody into the corner. The braking is huge. Like I think I used a lot of brake in the non-wing car, midget, non-wing car and everything. And then I get into the wing car and it's just like they're not even smelling hot yet. Like just things like the little things like that. But I would say just like my biggest thing is just how fast it goes and how much faster it feels like you are going in a wing car, and then you twitch your hand a little bit and then there's a 10th. And then your left rear down, and then you're like terrible, and then like just all the little things that it takes to like make a singular lap in a wing car fast at a good pace is like insane. And then you look at the qualifying times, and the top 20 are within a 10. And it's just like, how does that even make sense? Like, that's like the hardest thing to do to realize, I guess. Like, I went to Volusia, I went out first, and I went out last in the non-wing car, and I was about a 10th quicker than everyone each time. And it's just like, if you do that in the wing car, like, you're just you're Kyle Larson at that point at Volusia. So, like, it's just insane how spot on you have to be in a wing car for 30 green flag laps if you want to win.
Do you think running the wing car has helped you in the non-wing car these last 5 or 6 races that you ran?
Absolutely. Like, definitely at the bigger tracks of just like keeping it more straight and everything. And I guess that was something that I struggled with in the non-wing car at first as well too, and I still struggle with at some tracks, is like being able to get it sideways enough. Like Hopstad, you watch Kyle Cummins and he's basically looking at you on entry of the corner when you're behind him. Like just the stuff like that, I guess, would be the hardest thing in the non-wing car. But in the wing car, I feel like just the raw speed has like helped everything like slow down to me. Like on the Sunday at practice at Ocala, when I got in the car, I was like, I could literally eat something down the back straightaway right now. I'm going so slow. So just like those things, of course, like everything slows down. It's like when I jump back in a micro from a midget. But yeah, I think like all around, I just want to race everything. Like I just want to try everything and do everything, and like hopefully be successful at everything as well too.
I'm sorry for taking the floor here, but I like hearing what he's saying. And I think, like, just so you know, Daison, that speed that you're racing with these guys right now, that's not normal. That's just those guys. Like, being honest, like Dom knows, like if Dom goes to California, he's got like 5 guys that can run like that, right?
Yeah.
And if you go
literally 5 people, and that's in every area of the country.
And it's like, like if we run 360s, we got 3 or 4 guys that can run like that. maybe not that level, with the outlaw guys, obviously, but we got 3 or 4 guys that can run like that. And it's just it's situational that way. Like the hardest thing for you right now is there's so many good race teams that are trying to do the same thing you're doing. And it's never been that many race teams trying to do it all at one time. And that's the hardest transition, I think. Like, okay, take, we've talked about this. Take a guy like Chris Windham. Go back to what year you want to pick, Daryl? 2009? He transitioned very well, don't you think? Or, take a guy like, some of these guys, like, there's so many guys trying to do the exact same thing you're doing right now. That's what makes it so hard. And I predict the fall off eventually just because you got all these teams trying to get going at this level, and there's still only room for about 5 to 10 of them to really succeed. So I predict a fall off, and we've talked about this for a while, but I'm glad you said what you said because it's some of the things I've seen. I've been running a lot of 360 last, 10 years. And when I come back and run some outlaw stuff, I feel like I can be competitive. But I've even told Daryl this a lot. I feel like the pace is a lot higher than it used to be. And I'm glad you're saying that because I don't know, me and Dom have talked about it before. Like, I feel like race pace right now is a lot harder than it was. And it's not, it's just like, it's the whole race. Like when you drop the green flag on a 410 race, they've always got after it. But it's amazing to me how much different it seems now, how it's still 110 for 30.
Well, I'll tell you one thing. Dude, it's harder where you were running than it is if you're starting in the first 3 rows. Like if you're in the first 3 rows, harder. You get going and you're just you're running at the same pace, but you're not waiting for the bomb coming across your nose. You're not in dirty air. Lanes aren't plugged up. So you can kind of catch your breath a little bit easier when you are up front at an outlaw show or, what I haven't been up front in a high limit show yet, but at an outlaw show, if you're up front, it's a little bit easier when you're running up the top 5, top 7 compared to 15th or 12th, because now you've got a guy in front of you that you're on their ass, and now you got a guy behind you that he's on your ass, and one missed slider, one, bobble on the curb, and you're getting bombarded. And the difference is when I traveled, I ran pretty much outlaws and all-stars. That was really the only stuff I ever ran. When you would be running 10th at an all-star show, it'd be so much easier if you had a good car and you were fast to get through guys to get to like the top 5 compared to an outlaw show. If you're running 12th or 15th, you better be so much better than the cars around you that to get through it. Well, it's the same thing as a local show. I hope you're able to run some more 360 stuff and some more non-high limit outlaw stuff this year, because you'll see that once you have a couple months, like you get done with this West Coast swing here in a little bit, and you're going to go home and you're going to run some, whatever race, and you're going to go, holy, the pace is so much died down. The rest of the field, and even your top 5 guys, wherever you go, are going to be tough. But man, like the pace the outlaws and the high limit guys set is just, it's unlike anything else that I've ever experienced. Yeah.
And I would say, like, we've seen your talent, obviously. When you go to Chili, like I always tell this to people, you go to Chili Bowl and you can run like that, and then you've done what you've done already. I would never get discouraged in the situation you're in. I would just say this is the fucking reality. This is what it's going to be, and you have to accept it. And the team you're with, you've seen them perform, so. I mean, I would keep a lot of confidence in myself if I were you. And no matter how hard it does get, I think you can handle it. You just gotta, I think it is a lot of learning coming from where you're at to where you are now. Like, I think air is huge. Like you're going to learn that. And then once you get the air figured out, I think it's kind of like Buddy. If I look at Buddy, like as soon as I felt like Buddy got the air figured out, like he was good on the short places, but now that he's got the air figured out, I mean, he's really coming to his own. And I think, you're a young enough guy. I think you'll definitely get it handled.
Yeah. Anybody that can go 20th to 4th at the Chili Bowl, they can win races. So
yeah,
and it's going to be a learning curve. But dude, I'm telling you right now, once you get it dialed and you get comfortable, it's going to be like, riding a bike.
Yeah, and we're talking like you're like some newbie. You did win at Houston.
Yeah, I was going to say that. How many races were you?
There ain't no air at Houston's, Daryl.
How many races in, though?
It's like that was right up his alley. You might as well took the wing off.
And I started in the front row, and it probably like took rubber by like lap 5. But we're gonna talk about that. I won.
Hey,
Don't worry, I won.
It don't matter. You won. You won.
What was that though? Like that had to have been one of your first 5 or 10 410 races with a wing on.
That was like my second or third that year, but like probably like my 5th. I ran KKM's wing car, or attempted to run KKM's wing car at like Fremont one time. Made the show, but like ran again like 15th on the local show.
Yeah, I know it was early. It was impressive.
So how did you start dabbling into the 410s? Was it with KKM, and then your next ride really was with Eikenberry, was it not?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so like Keith just always had those 2 cars like sitting there for like, whenever then they got a free weekend, they wanted to go race and everything. And then of course Buddy like was running the 11N and then came to KKM, so like, they got a good wing driver, really, and then they got interest to get the wings like cars back out and then everything. And then at that time I was racing. That would have been 2020. So like that time I was racing as well. And just like started talking to Keith and Pete of like, this is the direction that I want to go eventually. I don't know when or how I can get there, but like I think this will help a little bit. And then ran that in 2020, and then didn't race any wing cars in 2021. And then 2022 didn't either. Maybe in 2022 I might have ran a wing car at Hopstot with KO. And it was like pretty good, but once again, like might as well take the wing off there too.
Yeah.
So like it was more in my comfort zone. And then started talking to Snow Giddings is his name, like another Port City like local, just like somebody that I knew. And then of course his brother Justin Giddings was kind of in with Brandon on the 25 car. So like just like started talking to them, started like bugging them a little bit, of like always, wanting to drive it. And then it was like a weekend where maybe like USAC in May was running like a Tuesday, Wednesday race, maybe Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday in Circle City and Terre Haute. And like I called them on like maybe that Monday, and they were like, oh, we like kind of need a driver for this weekend, like finally gonna let me drive it. And then talked to them into maybe on Wednesday is like when I bought my flight to Knoxville on Friday. Went to mount my seat and everything, and then ran Knoxville on Saturday. It would have been on a local show. And like same thing, like ran the heat race and like missed the bottom, and I was like, holy crap, like what just happened? Like they're gone. Like they're 12 car lengths of straightaway ahead of me right now. And then like I hit the bottom and then like gained it all back. So like just like that in wing racing is like trying not to get discouraged, because like you can make up ground and lose ground like so fast that it's like mind boggling. And then went to Houston's for like their 2-day show, maybe like a Sunday, Monday thing, and ended up winning on that Monday with Brandon and all of them.
So how did it feel to have JJ warm that car up for you?
It was awesome.
Before Nationals.
Yeah, it was awesome. Yeah. It showed me that like the car's good. Like I just am not right now.
We were actually pretty fast. That was fun. That was the first time I ever got to meet Daison. I thought it was cool. I'm like, she's all ready for you, boss. Go have some fun. And then I'm pretty sure. I mean, we both didn't do worth a shit at Nationals, so it didn't work.
No, I definitely didn't.
So we have a caller right now, Mr. Carson Mac Carl. And,
what's he drinking tonight?
And he wants. What's that, Carson? He wants to know why you wrecked him at the Nationals.
Oh, wrecked him. I wrecked him at the Nationals.
The last thing he said to me was, I had my blinker on and we were both insured.
Dang. But that's like another thing. Like I wouldn't like. I like messed up on the start like once again, and then like somehow got in the middle again. Like didn't even know how I got there. Somehow I got in the middle off of 2, and then the next thing you know, like 20 rows are like going by me, and I'm just like, what is going on? Like I'm just like lost in this spot. Yeah, but yeah, then it ended up getting upside down. Yeah.
Yeah, Carson said that was completely your fault, and he had nothing to do with it.
Yeah. And next time he passes you, he's gonna flip you off.
Yeah, that's all right. That's all right. That wouldn't be the first time, probably not the last.
So not long after that, JJ and I decided to run a high limit show, And JJ, much like you, was overwhelmed by the speed and went from the dash straight to last.
Yeah, great. Somehow that comes up on every goddamn show.
Well, like Daison was talking about how hard it is to just deal with the pace, and that night I feel like it was evident with you, JJ. You just couldn't handle that pace. But you pretty much were unbelievable at Four Crown. JJ, I remember watching the midget race on the trailer with JJ after he came in sulking because he couldn't handle the pace. Could you take us through that 410?
Four
Could
Crown.
you take us through that Four Crown weekend? Because we were blown away.
In my opinion, the most impressive one was the one you didn't win just because of how hard you were trying to win it.
That was the Silver Crown race.
Yeah, it was awesome.
And that one sucked, right? Like you're rolling off from the pole, it's going to take rubber, and I still messed it up. Like I don't know how I did that, but whatever happened there. But Four Crown was like, it was good. It was definitely like by far like one of my favorite weekends for sure. Like just because I think Eldora is like hard to tame. Like if you really want to win there, like you got to do some pretty stupid stuff. So like just going into that weekend, like I was just like I'm gonna win. I'm gonna do whatever it takes. Like I'm there. I'm going to win. Like that's just like all there was to it. And like I think on Friday night we qualified the Silver Crown car, like went through there. First lap was like good, got greedy on my second lap and like killed the fence. And then won the midget race from like I think seventh that night, and it was like a good race with Cannon and stuff. And then when the non-wing car came out, it was, I already had a little bit of confidence built up running against the fence, and like I feel like Four Crown with how the format was is like draw is really important in the non-wing car there because like we qualify on Saturday. And like it will get slick from the first car to the 40 car in like a hurry, and it slows down like a crazy amount. So I got a good draw and ended up going, I think, second quick to CJ. CJ was very fast that night in qualifying as well too. And then it was kind of just, again, like had so much confidence in everything that no matter where I started or what was the circumstances, I was either going to crash or win. And just put a really good like midget race together on Friday with Chad and everything, and Chad's cars are always fast there no matter who you put in them. So he had me, helped me get around Eldora with, what all he's seen and everything, and kind of coached me up in the right direction. And then the 21AZ guys got the non-wing car pretty good as well too. Just being able to just run kind of in the slick, like the middle or the beginning part of the race, because they went out there and did that rework and it was dusty for everybody and couldn't really see much. And then I was able to like run the middle to the bottom pretty early and then jump up. And then at that point again, like once I got to second, it was just one of those things where like I can't see nothing, but it feels like I'm close enough. So just kept running it, and then I was able to win that, and then go on to win the midget as well too. We were extremely fast in the midget, just completely like unbelievable how much grip we really had. And in the Silver Crown car, it was just one of those things where like I didn't feel fast enough to run through the middle, like stuck enough to run through the middle like they were, or like Mitchell and Cody were. So it was like one of those live or die situations to run the top. And then once the fuel load kind of like burned off and I started lifting up down the straightaways, I knew that I was probably in trouble there. So then wasn't unfortunately to complete the sweep, but I think I got 4 tries at it this year, so we'll see if we can get her done.
So we spoke about the speed in the midget. You won the championship this year. But I still think going into Chili Bowl, people did not have you on the radar as a guy who could win the race. Could you take us through your Chili Bowl? I mean, you started out pretty quick in the Race of Champions. Did you finish worse than second in any race? We were talking about that on the pod. Like any race you were in, we weren't sure you finished worse than second.
Yeah.
Could you take us
first loser?
Could you take us through your week up until the pole?
Yeah, Chili Bowl was good. Like I felt like I just have never really won a big race. So like honestly, it's kind of like hard to pick me. I feel like every time I'm at Chili Bowl for like I look at my prelim night like stats and like the best finish was 14th. So like it trends that I like choke, it looks like. It's like I don't know, like it's just a race that I've always felt good at. Felt like I had a lot of confidence going into it and everything. But majority of the time like in 2023 Chili Bowl would have been like the first one back after I had to skip one. Like I spun out running second to Buddy on like lap 2 in the AME car, and that was like the best I probably felt in that car, or that whole like year in that car. So like that one was disappointing. Then I go to run Chad's car the first year, and then like spin out again on my prelim night, and then like do a 360 and keep it going. But like we just finished I think 16th, and then had to come from the D or whatever. And then like this year, yeah, just like felt so comfortable in the midget. Chad felt comfortable and confident in like what he was doing and the direction that he was going with his team. Had a lot of good teammates with like Justin to help bounce ideas off too, because Justin's no dummy. Then Ricky came in and got to run and all that. So like a lot of good teammates to help us like go in the right direction. So like we were very, very confident. And then yeah, like prelim night went good, 6-1. Like then like I think 6-3 maybe in the qualifier. It was like running down Corey, so like knew that we were pretty good if we were like gonna pass Corey or as fast as Corey. So knew that we were really good. And then I think I kind of like messed up on moving up in on the prelim night, and then allowed Emerson to just like attack me, and then just kind of just run off and set sail from there, and then ran second in that, where I felt like I was the same pace as him, just like hard. The track was just like so fast that night, and there was no like we weren't really leaning on the curb yet, so there was no mistakes to be made, and Emerson ran a good race. So like I couldn't really clear a slider when I tried. And then yeah, like unfortunately, like I was like, oh, this is the best I can probably start. It's like 8, maybe 6 at the best at that time when I finished second. So like was a little disappointed I didn't get the win. But yeah, so just like was very confident in what I did, but then when I felt like I was, ran second on my prelim mat, I felt like like chances aren't looking, too great here.
So then you end up 10th
Mhm.
for the pole shuffle.
And decided to throw his balls out the left side of the cage and just make his own groove.
So I have a lot of questions about that, actually. My assumption is, and I said it on the podcast, is did you think there was even a remote chance you would be racing for the pole?
Like I knew, like I had all the confidence that like I don't know, like some people say it's the tires getting hot. Like I don't think so. I just think it's literally like you just get out there and you just like build a rhythm. Like I don't really think it's the tires getting hot necessarily. Like I know I understand the tires are hard and SP3s are hard and all this and all that, but like I think it's just you just get out there and get a rhythm, and then they turn the lights off so quick that like the guy that gets pushed off, he's like maybe just now putting his visor down and tighten on his belts one more time before like we go green, and like I'm already 10 laps into a run. So
yeah,
like
I was also the other thing that had me on that was it was really technical. Like you had that big curb and you were getting like practice laps on it while these guys were coming in fresh.
like, and that was like when we hot lapped, I was like, oh, like we're like way too tight, Chad. Like I don't know what we're gonna do here, and like I got tight in maybe when I was racing Bernal, like got crouch put away, and then maybe I was racing Bernal at that time, and I got tight and like got over it, and I was like, oh, that was probably faster. Like it felt a lot faster. So then like I ripped, maybe it was with Shane then. I ripped like one good lap where I felt like, okay, that's like a good enough lap where I don't think he'll be able to beat it. And then I like tried to get above the curb and got above the curb once and kind of like cleaned it off. And then yeah, just started running above it. Just because it's like, I feel like at Chili Bowl with the tire and everything, like we all get our cars so tight now to run the bottom or run the slick that like when it really does curb up, like you can never get, no matter if you're whoever you are, like you can never get enough wheel spin to like beat the curb with how like tight we have our race cars to like to compensate for the tire. So like if you can just enter above it, like I think it's pretty easy. And I did that with the micro too, because I think micros don't have enough horsepower to get around there. And like Kyle Larson's line, like I feel like that's just easier in the micros. So like you don't have enough horsepower to really bang off a big curb like that. So when you can just plug in the fence and go wide open, it's kind of just like a little slot car, really.
Just remember that when you come to Tulare.
Yeah.
You just said.
I like the sound of that. Yeah.
No, I'm telling you that's the key to the place. Like everybody that tries to like, be nice underneath it, fucking bite you. Like get to it early, get to it aggressively, and just start beating around it. You're better off. And like it's funny watching. There's nothing that you can take from a micro sprint to a sprint car at Tulare compared to a micro at the shootout. But then it's like you watch Kyle do it. That's how you go around Tulare. I mean, just get to it early, get to it straight, and then you create so much more speed. And like seeing you guys do that in the midget, especially at your the pole shuffle qualifying deal. Like, holy, I mean that is as Tulare as it gets. So just remember that, because I'm telling you, in a few weeks you're going to be like, oh damn, that's how you do it.
I just hope that like I can actually get up there. Like I won't like try turning with the wing and stuff and end up in the
No,
slick.
you'll be good.
You'll be good. You'll run like 4 laps of hot laps. You're like, yep, we're ready to go.
So now you get to the A main. You know you've got an elite car. Could you take us through the early stages of the race?
Yeah, I mean, I felt like definitely the Race of Champions. I thought I jumped up too soon. Like was being the first one. Like Race of Champions, like with Christopher starting pole, like Christopher is not going to mess up. Like he's of course one of the best, so like he's not going to mess up. So he's going to run the bottom until he feels a little bit of slippage, and then I wanted to be like the first one to the top in that, and I felt like it kind of like hurt me because I got like stuck in like me and I think Tanner and CV were racing really hard for second, and then it kind of let Christopher get away. And then like, Logan wanted to be the first one up there, or I did, or Tanner did, and we started sliding each other a little bit. And then once I finally put them away, and then Tanner and I ran side by side for like 3 laps. So like I'm really hustling it up top. And then yeah, at that point, like coming A feature time, I was like a little nervous to be the first one to jump up because I didn't want to have to like really race with somebody who was in fourth. I wanted to race with Landon for second. So then he started moving around a little bit, and then it was kind of like my time to move around. And honestly, I think I probably stayed on the bottom in 1 and 2 for too long because he was running the top in 1 and 2. So it allowed me to like try to stick the bottom and slide him into 3, but I never built a good enough momentum or good enough drive to get off of 2 how I wanted to pull up alongside of him. So probably wasted a little bit of time there, but was just being a little bit too patient with the race, only being 40 laps, and then with Kyle getting up there and being comfortable because he jumped up pretty early too. He said he seen me on the big screen running the top, so he thought it was time to get up. So he got up once I maybe got second, like 2 laps later, and then yeah, was just trying to chase down Kyle the whole entire time. At that time, like he was already running above it and stuff, like I was in the pole shuffle. So it was like we were pretty much running the exact same line. It was just a matter of who messed up and who didn't, and then when we got to lap traffic, I thought, oh, like we're going to be in good shape here. And then Kyle just put a couple of good cars in between us. And then it was kind of once again like they're running almost the same pace as Kyle, and Kyle's not moving it forward, and I'm kind of just stuck behind these 2 guys. So it was kind of hard to go anywhere when we were a little bit bumper to bumper. But once again, like it's hard to throw sliders, like Dom said earlier, when you plug it in the fence and have that much momentum built up, it's hard to like really clear them. So it was hard to clear a couple of those lap cars just because of the pace that they were running as well too. But at that time, I thought I was going to be all right.
Watching it, even the shootout kind of got that way, but the micros were, I felt like, a little bit better. But I almost think they need to clean it off the fence before the feature. That way, at least it slows the wall down a little bit, because I feel like you guys do get so fast where you'll never be able to get to the apex of the corner and beat a guy on a slider without parking him or ballparking him.
Yeah, and that's like what I thought. Like the one slider that I did, like maybe have a chance at clearing on Kyle was like maybe like the last restart before I messed up out of 2. But maybe the last restart in 3 and 4, like I thought, oh, I got a really good run here. Like Kyle maybe got tied off of 2. And I thought, oh, I got a decent run here. Like this might clear. And then I got to the center and I almost spun out because like I drove it in there so hard. And then Kyle like I didn't hear him, and I was like, oh, I'm still gonna clear him here, or he's just gonna run right in the back of me. And then like sure as shit, like, he was 2 car lengths ahead of me, like once he drove by me, like because once he got plugged into the fence. So like I don't know really how you go about that, if you clean it off or whatever. Like I don't know what the right answer is to that, but I definitely know that it's probably going to be pretty dang common to try to run above it now at shootout and Chili Bowl.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. Like, I feel like when you were running the pole shuffle, before you actually found that line, you were still, I think, faster than everybody else that was coming through anyway. And I feel like if you say you never ran that line, which, you kind of tripped on it anyway you found it just kind of luckily, I guess. I feel like the whole feature plays out differently. Mm-hmm. Because if nobody sees him run that line and be that much faster than everybody, like a guy like Kyle Larson didn't even try it in his pole shuffle lap. You know what I'm saying? And I feel like if you would have had that in your bag come feature time, oh my gosh, I think you would have murdered him. Like, because by the time you got to the lead, you would have gapped Larson so much until he finally moved up. I don't know. Like, I feel like that was, I mean, you were the guy everybody was trying to copy after that. And like, I think that's pretty cool knowing that. I mean, obviously you want to win the Chili Bowl, but if you get beat by Larson, that's not the worst thing to hang your head about. But I feel like if Larson doesn't see you run that line, I don't think Larson beats you.
Yeah. And Dom might know, like, Dom, do you remember when I ran similar line like in Tim's car at the shootout? It would have been like I don't know, like I just always think it's just you just run hard there and then like you hit the fence and then like you're just throttling in it and it just like sometimes it's faster, like if it works out that way.
That was probably the first time I've ever seen that line run in the shootout when you did that. Like I
Yeah.
remember thinking, you don't normally see that. I mean, there's
Yeah.
like Port can get on the wall, Visalia can get on the wall, but like there's not a whole lot of places you run a micro around the fence like that. And I remember thinking that, wow, I've never really seen that before.
Yeah.
So
And
it's
it
rare.
wasn't and it wasn't really curved up that year either. So like that's what I mean. Like I don't know if shootout and Chili Bowl like how they have the walls because even down like the straightaways, like it's so easy to ramp up those walls and then like come back down off of them. Like, is it just something that like the K rails have because they already have that lip on the bottom that creates it? Like, I don't really know the answer, but like I do know that it's probably going to be a common occurrence now. Like we might see it on Monday night prelim night if the track gets like that next year.
And I didn't remember it being like that the years I ran Chili Bowl. I didn't remember it being built up that much on the straightaway walls like that.
Yeah.
Like I just never did.
Like I feel like it's gotten worse the last couple of years. Like I remember maybe the year that Rico won in the Safe Light car, like it was big time on the wall, like massive. Like I remember seeing crazy pictures of like Rico like way up there down the front straightaway walls a couple times. But he wasn't running it through the corners because I thought the curb got so big that it didn't even allow like the curb didn't even get to the fence because it was just so wet that
Right.
year.
So we get down to it now, and you come at a turn 4 and you see Kyle Larson in all kinds of trouble. What's running through your head?
I got him right here. Like, oh yeah, this is it right here. Like, hopefully the left rear DBs and maybe he turns it over. Like, I don't know.
That's awesome.
Amen.
But no, like I don't know. Like it was just one of those things that like I didn't even think. Like I thought the yellow was for somebody else. Like I didn't know it was gonna be for the banner. But I mean, I did see that he messed up, and like I was gonna be by him out of turn 2, but at that point the yellow was already out. So like it was like already focused on like, okay, going to restart second here. Like, what's that look like? How's he going to start the race? Blah, blah, blah. And then, yeah, like, I mean, in all honesty, I thought, hopefully he stopped down there when I rolled back around.
So after the Chili Bowl, obviously you had a lot of momentum, and you're now going into your first year with Book. You did get to run with them at World Finals. I asked Justin Peck this. How important do you think it was to run World Finals with your team before actually starting the year off with them? And how did Florida go, and how was everything with Book?
Yeah, like to me, like jumping around in different teams isn't that big of a deal. Like at this point of my career, just because like with the USAC teams, the non-win car and the midget, like I'm jumping back almost every other weekend with just like a different group of people and stuff. So like as far as that goes, like for me personally, like it's just not that big of like a change for me. I feel like I'm like pretty open and stuff like right out of the gate, just because like I've had to be, if I wanted to be successful like right out of the gate. So, but it was good. I got to race. Where'd we go? Bridgeport as well before World Finals, so like that was good too. Just for me, like racing sake, of like again at all the big tracks that like the wing does stuff and everything like that. So just racing and getting like used to it, not moving my hands, all of that sort of thing. And then yeah, I thought like World Finals went decent. Like we qualified really good there both nights for like what my expectations were for sure. The car I think just rolls around Charlotte very well, so like that made it easier on me. And then yeah, like got everything ready for the off season and everything. And then they turned around and built two really good race cars, and then was able to finally run a 360 for the first time at Volusia, and then thought that went like pretty well. Just like again, racing and understanding what the wing does and all of that. And that was like a little bit where the pace didn't seem as fast to me. Like when I went out there to qualify, I actually felt like I could think a little bit, which was good and everything, just to get acclimated with the speed once again and everything. And then once the 410 came around, like it was just another, again, like eye-opening week of just like how hard and everything that these guys run. And then just to realize like the boxes that I needed to work on and check, and kind of just like a little goal list that I have in my head of what I want to achieve, as far as just like learning inside of the car. and just adapting to what all like these people do, learning, everyone and kind of how they race and their characteristics and all of that was something that like I could take away from Florida that would be probably good. But I don't really know what we're going to do. We're supposed to go back and run Lincoln for the icebreaker and then maybe run some local stuff in PA, but they're still getting snow down there. And I think they just canceled it maybe today. So I don't know what we're going to do.
Down here.
They mentioned maybe going back to Volusia as well too. So maybe getting some more laps down there would be valuable, I think, for me as well too, to kind of go back and have like something to build off of will be very valuable in my opinion.
Anyone else got anything for him? Well, I think that's all the questions we have for you. Now it is time to talk shit. I warned you yesterday that you're going to have to talk shit. And you tell me you have no topic. So since Daison sucks at talking shit and has way too good of an attitude, how can we run our mouths at him, fellas?
What do you mean run our mouths at him? Are you going to run your mouth? Daryl, he was almost paralyzed. I'm not going to run my mouth to this guy.
I don't run up on you guys. That's easy.
So what are we going to talk about then, fellas? We don't have anything.
Well, I mean, the number one thing to...
We got an easy one we can go to, but
I got it.
Low-hanging fruit.
I got it.
They want to dance around it, but I'm going to just go right at it. Daison, why are you still using the parking thing?
The what?
The parking deal. The little parking sign on your car. You can walk fine now, and you're still using that parking sign.
I'm not. I actually never got one.
Oh.
I actually never got one. That's funny, though.
I saw your car at the Chili Bowl front row parking.
No, I actually never got one. I disown that, actually.
Hey, Daison, do you want a rock screen?
Do I want a rock screen? Every car that I think I drive, yeah, has one in there.
We lost that one, JJ.
I don't know.
Why did you think he wasn't going to run a rock screen?
Yeah,
because JJ went on a rant last episode that a bunch of people don't run a rock screen.
No, I didn't. I just said it's if our industry's fucking worried about mandatory safety shit, let's mandate something that's $50 instead of $500.
A lot more guys do run them now, though. I will say that.
Ever since my rant, did it change the sport?
No.
Damn, I thought that was my rant.
It was before that.
Life-changing moment.
I don't know if the wing car does or not. I think it does. I get so used to like looking through them now that I can't even tell.
Right.
The only thing that you got going for you right now, JJ, is your tramp stamp, and you didn't even get credit for that.
Carson did. That was great.
That was so good. I read that. I was like, Carson didn't say that.
But yeah, the low-hanging fruit is the Daytona 500. Is there something someone else can come up with so I'm not bitching?
I didn't even watch a single lap of the Daytona 500.
I didn't watch a single lap.
You didn't miss anything.
That's the point.
If
no one cares, that's the point.
The motorsport there is. It's horrendous.
Oh my God.
Especially at Daytona. I don't mind watching a Bristol race like the last 50 laps or whatever, but watching them all just parade around waiting to junk all their shit in the big one is terrible.
Yeah,
it's awful.
6 cars got through without getting wrecked this year. And like Dom was saying, they're trying to be like sprint car racing or short track racing in so many ways, and they miss like the point, and it's that the best guy wins. The guy that's done a good job.
The fastest car.
Race.
Yeah.
The fastest combination wins the race. This is a fucking coin flip every year. And what blows my mind is that's been the case for like 20 years, and everyone's just like, okay, we can't come up with anything better.
It's a really weird deal that it's our biggest race, and it's the one that anybody can win. Like, if there's a guy in NASCAR that's just going to win some random show, that's like in sprint car racing. Nobody's only career win is the Knoxville Nationals. You know, it just doesn't make any sense at all.
If the Daytona 500 was an outlaw show, I would have a win.
Right. Exactly.
Okay. Let's talk some shit. Do you think it's easier to transition from a wing car to a non-wing than wing and then non-wing to wing? You know what I'm saying? Like, to go back and forth one way or the other. I mean, obviously, I know you're still pretty new into the 410 wing stuff, but if David Gravel decided he's going to go run a non-wing race tomorrow, do you think he'd be pretty competitive doing that versus like, say, like Brady Bacon, he can go both ways. He's pretty good at doing that. He's one of the few guys that can back and forth all the time. I guess what I'm saying is like some of the upper echelon guys, like, the Macedos, the Brad Sweets, which, obviously they have ran non-wing stuff. Do you think they can go back and run non-wing easier than a wing guy, or a non-wing guy could come and run a wing car?
I think they would probably finish better, like if you just looked at results wise, just because wing guys, there's like 24 of you guys that could win at any given night. Where like non-wing guys, I think there's just like 5. So like definitely if you look at the results on paper, it would look, like, oh, it's easier for a wing guy to go to a USAC show and run, 8th or 9th or whatever on paper. But I think like what wing guys would struggle with is just being uncomfortable with, like, that's like half of non-wing racing is like left front in the air, not being able to steer this thing. Like what's mind-boggling to me is like I think Brian Brown's seat is like that. Like he's even leans to the left more than he is like, and to me, like when I wing over, I'm just like, this is weird. Like my head's this way, like I can barely see, and like I guess like I'm like under the understanding that he does that for like when he gets all like left rear up, so he's still laid left, and like to me that's just like wild because like non-wing guys also lean their seat to the left a little bit too, but it's just because they're going right. And like, so I don't know, just like that aspect of it, I think you guys would be like, for us, it's easy to lay left. Like that's a comfortable feeling to us. Where like, I think that would be like the hardest part for wing guys would just to be like, get over that little hump of like running at this sideways. I feel like I'm going to spin out. I have absolutely zero grip because that's another big thing that I felt like I have like tried to transition to is like trying to keep up with like how far to move the wing back. Well, heck, I already have unlimited grip. It feels like why do I need to move the wing back? Because of like what I've been used to. So like that's like another thing of like I'm running right through the dirtiest part of the racetrack at Volusia. I feel like I have enough grip, but if I move the wing back, I'm going to go faster. But like just to me, it doesn't feel like that because I'm used to being so sideways and spinning and the car being up in the rear and all that.
I would think that's probably going to be some of the things that hamper you the most is probably knowing when you're really good. Like in a non-wing car, like there's not a lot of grip, you're sideways. And I think in a wing car, you're like, man, this feels so much better than what I'm used to. I must be good, but maybe you're still not there yet. So
yeah,
like, definitely. I feel like the more you do it, you'll get like better at giving your feedback. And I think it'll, obviously they'll be able to give you a better race car too.
Mm-hmm. That was something that like Paul McMahon was very good about helping me out at Volusia was like, it doesn't look like your right front's up enough. Or be like, get your wing back more. Or you're spinning down the straightaways. Well, I didn't feel like I was spinning down the straightaways because like I'm used to negative grip. So like just all those things that like I think are something that like once again like I have notes in my head that I think that are like things that I need to check off to like really understand what I'm trying to do.
Yeah, that's cool.
So along the lines of what Sam's saying, like I'll always hear like non-wing people say, oh, wing guys just put their foot down and go. What is a misconception non-wing guys have of wing sprint cars, and what is a misconception wing guys have of non-wing sprint cars?
I would say that racing a wing car is the hardest thing ever. It's harder to race a wing car. Like if you go out there on a practice day and go practice a wing car, it's probably pretty dang easy. Not easy, but like it's probably you might feel easy, right? When you're out there by yourself, you're not racing anybody, like you got unlimited grip, you're wide open, blah 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 blah. And then I think it is harder to drive a non-wing car just because it feels like it is trying to hurt you every single lap. So like I guess that would be like the only thing that I like would tell people, like that's how their differences are, is just like it's harder to race and be fast in a wing car consistently. But a non-wing car, it's harder, like, or it's not harder, it's just a different feeling because like it's easier to race them because you're not pushing around air and everything, but it's also hard to be comfortable and fast in them for 30 laps.
Hey, so Daryl, for all the viewers out there, can we get an image of what your tramp stamps actually look like? I'm sure JJ.
Just look at the top wing of the 15H. and it's got the 15 in the H, and then it's got Hafertepe right across the crack is Hafertepe.
Basically, you see some cleavage.
A lot of
bit of cleavage there.
Ass cleavage.
A roll, another roll, and kind of in that is the 15, but it looks like a 13.
Right. And some of the letters look capitalized and some don't because of the rolls.
Yeah.
So JJ, when's the first time you saw this? When you were backing up at Eldora, or when?
Yeah. I don't even know. I'll never forget it.
And did Joe see it the same time you saw it? I just want to know.
Yeah, me and Joe just kind of looked at each other and we just walked away. We went to go get a pizza burger.
Hey, Daison, next time that you go to Eldora, instead of running last with JJ, can I just go hang out in your pit and win?
Yeah, come by.
I'll be over there.
I don't think
for the trophy.
I don't think JJ's going to get invited back to that.
No. Phone hasn't rang much for Eldora since we raced together, Daryl.
Yeah, we had an excellent view of your A main win in the midgets because we were done after the D.
Hard charger in that B main, though.
Yeah.
Brutal.
Were you faster in the midget than JJ was in the wing sprint car?
Hey, come on now. That's insulting.
I could look up the lap times.
Oh, boy.
It wasn't mine and JJ's best night.
I don't like how this talking's transitioning.
Oh, sorry.
So when we shit on someone else, it's okay, but when I get shit on, it's fine.
It's way more fun.
Okay, so I think that's everything I need. So thanks for doing this, fellas, and we'll try to get together next week.
Good times.
Yeah, peace out, Daryl.